Okay guys, in this next tutorial what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to create the neck detail, or where the human's neck would be if it were to put the spacesuit on. So let's go ahead and do that. You go ahead and go to isoparm, grab this. Actually, this is trim edge. The reason why it's not an isoparm is because you use the trim tool, so create a trim edge. Same thing, different name. And we're just going to go to surfaces loft. Oh, I'm sorry. Curves, duplicate surface. Modify center pivot. I'm just going to bring it down. And then we're going to loft it. There's other ways we could do this, but we'll just keep it simple. Go to trim tool. Surfaces loft. Oops. And we're just going to make sure that the span sections are, probably do 4. It's probably enough. Yeah, 4 is good. Okay, looks pretty cool. Let's add some detail on it. Let's go to hole. And let's grab this one and bring it out. This is kind of up to you on how you want to do this. Can't really be wrong. It's just you being creative. Okay, now it's really hard to see our changes right now, because if you notice that the outside is black and the inside is gray. It's inside out. Not good, right? So if you remember how we did this before, is we went to mesh display, curves rather, and we went to reverse direction. Now, we can see our changes, which is always nice. Let's go ahead and go to hole again. Let's take this guy and bring it out. Okay, looks good. Take this one, it's stuck in here. Let's bring that out too. All right. Let's bring this out some more. Let's bring it down a little bit. I mean, you could really kind of go nuts here with this if you want, but you could do it sharper if you want. So, like, let me show you for example. You don't have to do this, but you can just watch for a second. I'm just going to go ahead and make a layer. And what I'm going to do, I want to go to display. Creative view. Make sure you're under display. Go to object mode. I'm going to add selected objects and click that. So there's another thing we could do if we want it, to look a little sharper. When we go to surfaces loft, we can do a linear. So what this will do is, I'll explain in a second. Let's go to surfaces, reverse direction. Now watch this. This is kind of cool. We're going to go to isoparm here, or hull rather. Not isoparm. Let's go to hull and bring it out. And you'll notice that it doesn't look as organic. It looks a lot sharper. That's completely a personal preference. I kind of like the way that looks, but that's up to you on how you want to do it. So you can mess around with that. Again, that's completely your call. I like this surface a little bit better than that one. It doesn't matter. Just know that the way you make this is when you go to surfaces loft. We put surface degrees linear. It'll make it sharp. If we go to cubic, it'll be, smooth. So that's completely up to you on how you want to do that. So that's that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part. Now the next part is this. You'll notice that these little, if you're, I think it's a little messed up, you could just do this and hit a F, and it'll focus on the image plane. So we're going to make these things, these little lights. So go ahead and do that. Click on this now and hit F, so just focus on my model. All right, so go to Create Polygon Primitive. We're going to create it out of a sphere. Now obviously that's a giant sphere. Put 90 in here. Let's go to front view. Now scale it down quite a bit. Now, it doesn't have to fit the image plane exactly. It could be a little bit big, but you don't want it to be, too big, like the size of the helmet. That'll just look weird. All right, so that's pretty good. Just going to move it off here. All right, so what we want to do is we want to detach these surfaces. So how do we do that? With a polygon, it's pretty easy, but with a NURBS, it's a little bit harder. So I'm going to go to isoparm. I'm going to go to this one, actually, and I'm going to go to Surfaces, Detach. And that's it. So what I'm going to do is scale this thing down. Scale that one down. We go to Modify Center Pivot if you want to, scale a little bit more accurately. Make it a little bit larger. Bring it forward. And that looks pretty good. Now we just have to connect these two. And I'm sure you guys hopefully remember what tool we could use. So, hopefully you guessed it, Loft. We don't need all, we're going to just go ahead and go to Reset Tool. I do want it linear, but one span will be fine. So, there you go. Looks good. And let's go ahead and do the casing too. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to go to isoparm and we're going to go to Surfaces, Detach. Just going to get rid of that. I'm going to go to Hull and I'm going to scale this up. I'm going to scale it back. I'm going to make a that's good. Don't worry about the inside there. It's not a big deal. We're going to go to isoparm and we're going to duplicate it. Curves, duplicate surface curve. So that duplicates a curve on a surface of an object, which obviously that happens to be. Now if I click my move tool, you'll notice I don't see my pointer. So we have to go to Modify, Center Pivot. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that back to about there. Might be too long. We could modify that later. It's not a big deal. Isoparm. And then we're going to use the tool again. This is a very useful tool, Surfaces Loft. Now hopefully you remember, it is turned inside out. How do we reverse that? You just go to Surfaces, Reverse Direction. I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to go to isoparm. Actually, I'm just going to move this, Modify Center Pivot. I'm going to move this back. I'm going to go to isoparm, Hull, actually. And you'll notice that it dynamically increases with the surface, which is kind of neat. Okay, that's good. Hit W, move back. Okay, looks pretty good. And notice we have a little issue here, detached. So if you notice we get that problem, you could always fix that. Go to isoparm, isoparm, surfaces, loft. Okay. Now, what happens if you want to move all these at once? Well, what I could do is select all the surfaces and go to Edit, Delete by Type History. Okay. Now we're going to group it. So we're going to go to Window, Hypershade, not Hypershade, Hypergraph. And we're going to hit Control G. Zoom out. Now this just created a group. I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to call it left lamp if you're looking at it from the back, or right lamp if you're looking at it from the front. I'm going to do it as we're looking at it from, let's do the front. So I'm going to call it right lamp. Okay, and you could call this lamp front. You should put an N in front of it so we know it's N. That's a NURBS surface. Doesn't matter too much what you call that. So that's that. We need that curve. Nope. We delete the history, so we don't need it. Let's clean up some of our outliner here. Let's go ahead and delete. Well, let's not delete the history because we may need it later, but we'll keep this. So how do we get a group? Well, you go to Window, Hypergraph, you click on the group, or you could hit any object and hit up arrow on your keyboard. That's it. And now hit Control-D. That'll create another group. Go to Modify Center Pivot, because you'll notice the pivot is down there. Let's move it over to the other side. You might say later, hey, let's make this whole thing larger, because it's too small. You can do that, whatever you want. Hit Up, Modify Center Pivot. Let's go ahead and move it over. Okay, so we're getting there. Looks okay. Looks pretty cool. Now, there's one problem. Let's just address that right now. That this is not the right anymore. This is now the left. Left lamp. So right lamp, left lamp. And we have all this stuff. We're going to group all that later. So we'll clean this up later. We're not going to delete too much history yet. We'll do that a little bit later. So that's that. Go ahead and go to File, Increment and Save, and you're done. Let's go ahead and move on to the next video.